Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at another doctored up auction car. Actually, this one's a truck. It's a big boy truck with a big diesel engine in it. Now, if you don't know what a doctored up auction car is, it's a car that was first run at an auction, purchased from an insurance company, and then this seller brought it back to their garage or their shade tree or their back alley, wherever they decided they were going to work on it, and doctored it up a little bit. Just cosmetic repairs to make it look better for when they run it through the auction the next time. Why do they do this? Well, they're hoping that whoever sees it in the auction the next time with the repairs that are done to make it look good from 20 feet away are not going to realize the extent of the damage. And spoiler alert, this one was blasted. So let's take a look at this so that you don't fall victim to these kind of sellers. Today's vehicle is a 2020 Chevrolet Silverado 3500 HD, four-wheel drive, and it's the high country. Fancy. It's for sale by our favorite sellers down in Miami, Florida. There's the VIN. We have some all over damage and engine damage is how it's listed. It's got a salvage title from Georgia. No odometer, not actual, which will be a problem eventually when you go to title this thing. If we want, we could buy it for 30 grand right now. I don't think we want to, but we'll go through it. We don't have a seller down here, so it's not from an insurance company. The actual cash value, they say, is $30,000. So even if it needed a good wash, you're overvalued there. So let's dive into it. Right off the bat, we can see we have some damage on the back of our fender here. One heck of a bumper on the front. We're missing a center cap. Since the damage is here and not on the front edge of the door, it either hit something right here or this front end was shoved over underneath the door. And then they opened the door into it, which is what I'm going with. Our pinstripe isn't straight. Looks like they put this piece up a little too high. Must have been in a hurry. Looks like our bed is shifted over here a little bit, which is a good sign that our frame is no longer straight. Got a plug hanging out over here. There's no wheel liner in here. And this is probably the good side. Let's go to the next one. Oh yeah, that was definitely the good side. So we got some damage on the hood up here. And no damage on our fender. I'm thinking that is a new fender. We're missing our wheel over here. This is the spare, so I guess we don't get a spare with this thing. No wheel liner, no flare. This windshield being cracked that way, I would say there's damage on this cowl, and that's why they put the fender on there to cover it up. And our door is closed at the bottom, but out at the top up here. We'll have to look at a different picture. We definitely have some damage over here in the corner. I think they tried to cover most of it up with this fender. You can see there's something's missing down there, unbolted, and they never bolted anything back in, probably because it won't fit. But our hood is pretty messed up. That suspension's pushed back. There's definitely some damage in there. Maybe we'll see it in the underhood picture. We got a matching incorrect pinstripe on this side, so at least they were consistent. Oh, look at that. The pinstripe disappears underneath the rattle can spray paint. So it looks like they let a 2-year-old do some body work back here and just spray can specialed it. And our door is definitely pushed out at the top. Now that's caused by one of two things. Either this pillar is pushed in, especially at the bottom, or somebody wasn't wearing their seatbelt. It got hit over here and they got thrown against the door and bent the door frame itself. If that's the case, you can usually just straighten it back out. But since it's hit up here, you can kind of see through everything. There's nothing up there. Yeah, I can't wait to see your underhood picture. Definitely need some tires. These are kind of bald. A little damage on our bumper here. More damage on this edge of the bumper. And our bed is definitely shifted over. Doesn't look like any airbags deployed. At least not that I can see. We have no mileage. They left the tools for the jack laying over here. That's probably from when they let the spare tire down to take it off of there. And definitely have a little damage on our bumper. Tailgate looks okay. Bed's off a little bit from the tailgate. I'm sure that bedside is all Bondo. There's our VIN. Ah, here's the good picture. Missing some parts up here, a closeout panel, upper tie bar. And when you have the master cylinder shoved over like that, that means all of this used to be over here. And we're missing a battery. Missing 2 batteries. And I believe there's supposed to be an overflow bottle over here. Yeah, I think that might be it right there. This should be over here. This electrical box. Maybe that's why they couldn't get the mileage off of it. They couldn't light it up. Missing a shroud. There's the fan peeking out there. Yeah, this cowl is just destroyed in here. So that's probably why our door doesn't fit. And this fender has definitely been replaced. It's just sitting up there. Maybe they got a screw in the back of it here. Probably a drywall screw. This is our favorite sellers that use those drywall screws on everything. We have an AC line that's disconnected, just hanging out over here. A hood shock that it definitely isn't supposed to be attached to the engine. I think it's just sitting up there. It's probably supposed to be back here on this little peg. Yeah, it's not looking good under here. And some stuff that's unplugged. Not even a good picture, and you can still tell that it's bad. What else do we have? Now we have a key, but no key fob, which is why it won't start. And back to our original picture. So I'm saying, yeah, that front end was definitely shoved over, and they opened the door into it. That's why. That's why they had to hammer it out there a little bit. I mean, they didn't even tape off the pinstripe. They just painted right over it. All right. Well, what do you think it looked like before they had their hands on it? Well, here it is in the auction now. They've run it a few times already, and this is the original time. They paid $17,600 for it, so they're looking to make well, $12,000 on it. Let's see what it looked like. Okay. Well, we definitely know the front end was pushed over a little bit. We guessed right. And we can see just how bad it was. Wait a minute. It did not have a pinstripe here. They actually pinstriped this truck. Is that a new strategy in an effort to cover things up? They're evolving. So now we know how our hood got damaged without our fender. They definitely replaced that fender and just hammered this out a little bit. Who knows what they did with the suspension? This is pretty messed up. Probably put it back together with bubble gum, duct tape, and zip ties. Quite a gap up there. Looks like there might be a buckle in this roof. And we have some damage back here. So it looks like it got hit in the front end and spun this truck around, and whatever hit the front end, the back of the truck hit it. Takes a lot of force to get this truck to spin around like that. So it's hit pretty hard. It explains why the frame has shifted so bad. They just hammered this out, bondoed it up, put a pinstripe on it, and then spray painted it. Don't know why they didn't spray paint it and then put the pinstripe on, but that's what they did. Everything Everything over here looks pretty much the same. You can see how far this front end is shoved over. It's definitely going to need a frame, possibly a transmission and an engine if it broke them all loose, broke the mounts. I would not be willing to take a gamble on that one. Amazingly enough, it does not look like any airbags had ever deployed. Maybe a seatbelt here. That's not right. So I'm thinking the seatbelt did deploy, but that looks like it. I would have thought we'd definitely get some curtain airbags for that. Guess not. There's our back seat. Yep, there's our overflow there. There's where our electrical box should be. The front end shoved over enough that it pulled the air box apart. Yeah, all this stuff they never put back in, probably because it wouldn't fit. It did have batteries at one time. They didn't make it to the auction. I guess they held on to those. They pulled all this out. Took the shroud out so that it would fit when they pulled the front end over. Because the frame is still shoved over, they have to take the fan shroud out because it won't line up in the center. Had 71,000 miles on it. And yeah, it's definitely plowed in this corner. It explains all the damage here. So definitely going to need a complete front end, a frame, the suspension up here, probably a cab. I would imagine that it's pretty messed up in there. By the time you try changing the firewall and the cowl and this A-pillar, you might as well just get a cab for it. Possibly a drivetrain and a bedside. There's our VIN number. So by the time you start putting everything together in this, you are definitely going to be upside down in this truck. And that's assuming the engine and transmission are good. And there is a very good likelihood that the bell housing on the trans is cracked, or maybe where the mounts are. I wouldn't be willing to risk it unless I saw it in person and really climbed underneath this thing. That pinstripe still gets me. Can't believe they took the time to stripe it and then didn't even get it straight. Well, that's our Silverado. And if you really wanted to buy a front end and a cab and a frame, suspension, a wheel, and a bunch of little odds and ends, you could probably repair this thing. Actually, you could definitely repair this thing. I wouldn't mind doing it, except for a $30,000 I buy fast. That's way too much money for that truck. Maybe for about $5,000, I might be a buyer, because if I got it back and the engine and trans were bad, I can get $5,000 worth of parts out of that thing. But yeah, we're a little off on our prices, so it's not worth rebuilding. But by all means, if you hate your money and you want to go ahead and get yourself a nice project, this truck is for you. But I think everybody else is just going to wait it out and go buy a truck that isn't wrecked for what it's going to cost you to fix this one. And a lot of people ask me where I get my old auction pictures from the original auction. And it's pretty simple. You just take the VIN number, copy and paste it into the Google machine, and it will pop up all the old auction results. And then just click down one that allows you to see the pictures. Some are hidden behind a paywall. If you really want to, you can pay for those and you can see the results and all the pictures and everything else. But usually if you just click away, save yourself a couple bucks. Because basically all you're looking at is just to see what it looked like before. And that can pretty much determine if you want it or not. There is some people that think that these people are not trying to scam you and, making excuses for them. Like I had the one guy that said, oh, they included the old auction pictures. They're not trying to hide anything. No, I went and found those. Trust me. These sellers don't want you to know you can go find the old auction pictures. And these are not accidents where somebody got a little in over their head and they're just trying to pass off their mistakes. This particular seller does about 50 of these a week. So this is their business model. Buy really wrecked cars, fix them up just a little bit, and hopefully sell them to some unsuspecting buyer. So let's see if they found their unsuspecting buyer for this week. The pre-bids ended at $25.75. Not a good start for these guys. We have Florida bidding and somewhere outside of the United States. And now Florida is fighting with Florida. And the bidding already slowed down and they aren't even close to their 30 grand I buy fast. They're going to be losing over $10,000 at this point. So, well, I don't think they're going to sell it. It'll be back next week. Maybe people are on to them. Hopefully, these videos help you out, show you what to look for, so that you don't become a victim of these kind of sellers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you, well, with another one or something to rebuild.